Hello dear designers, Chiwendo here. Today we are going to be learning how to draft and cut this particular blouse. I've been getting a lot of requests that I should show you guys how to draft this. So I'm going to be taking my time to teach you everything you need to know on how to cut and draft this particular blouse. So sit back, relax, and you'll be learning a lot of techniques from this particular tutorial. So we are going to be drafting out the back first, and after that we draft out the fronts. So guys, you can see I have my paper on top of the table. Now I'm going ahead to mark my baseline, and then remember this is for the back, so I'm also marking in 1 inch for the zipper allowance. So I have done that and I'm connecting it right now. So I have a horizontal and a vertical line, which is going to serve as my shoulder or the baseline, and then the zipper allowance line. Now from here, you are going to have to place your tape on the shoulder line and then mark down to the bust point. My bust point is 11 inches, and then I will also mark my waist point. My waist point is 15 inches. Okay, for the back. Remember, your back and the front length should never be the same when you are drafting out any pattern. All right, so I have done that and I'm trying to connect it across. Now after this, from this waist point, I'm going to take it down to my hip height. That is from your natural waist to the hip points. Okay, mine is 9 inches. You want to measure this. Some people have it to be standard of 9, 8, 10. It depends. Okay, so you have to measure it out. Now I have done that and I have marked it across. Now I'm trying to take up the excess paper, which I'm not going to be needing. Now after this, next step we are going to take is to divide the shoulder length into 2. But before that, let's go ahead and label this. So I have the shoulder line, I have the bust points, I have the waist, and then the hip, which is the full length of this blouse. Now from here, I'm going ahead to divide my shoulder length into 2. Of course, you know, everything you're going to be marking now should start after the zipper allowance line. Okay, so now I marked it. Mine is 7.5, and then I also marked in my neck width for the back, and also the neck depth. So my neck width for the back, I'm using 4.5 inches, and the neck depth for the back, I used 1 inch. So I'm using my French curve to connect, just like this. Okay, now after this, I'll go ahead and come down by 1 inch. Of course, you already know why we do this, because our shoulder spine is not straight. Now I came down by this 1 inch and connected it back to the neck width. Now after this, go down to your bust point line and ensure you have your shoulder length divided by 2, all right, which is 7.5 for mine. And then after that, you're going to divide your bust circumference by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Now whatever value you have, mark it from the shoulder slope downwards. Okay, so mine is 8 inches. I marked it, and that becomes my chest line. Now after this, I'm going to divide the distance between this chest line and the shoulder slope into 2, and that will be for the armhole depths. Now whatever you have, mark it and go in by and then leave it that way. Move over to the chest line and divide your bust circumference by 4. So whatever you have, go ahead and input that. Mine is 9.75 inches. I marked it, and then I'm going to connect my armhole curve. Okay, now after that, move over to your waistline and then divide your waist circumference by 4. Mine is 8.5. I'm going to mark it, and then I'll connect from the chest line to this waistline. Now after that, move over to your hip, and then you're going to divide your hip circumference by 4. Now my hip circumference is 44 inches, divided by 4 is 11. Okay, take it down and then connect from your waist down to the hip, just like this. You can see right there I use my French curve. Now after doing this, we are going to come over to the waist, okay, because we want to contour the back of our blouse. We don't want any form of zip bulge, so we want to eliminate any zip bulge around there. So from the center back on the waistline, you're going to go in by 1/2 inch. Once you're done with that, from the waistline again, go down by 6 inches. Okay, now once you're done with that, you're going to connect from this waist just like this to your chest line. Okay, and then from your waist again, connect it to the 6 inches mark just like this. Now you can see that our back is gradually coming into reality. Now after that, to eliminate more of our zipper bulge, you're going to place your tape on this waist point and then go up and down by 1/2 inch, as you can see me do like this. Okay, now this will help eliminate more of your zip bulge, like take it in, because you know that the back of our body is not straight. We have like a deep point around the back. All right, so that's why we also do this. Now after this, I will now go ahead and mark out my 1 inch zipper allowance, which I have done, and then I'm trying to connect. Okay, so that is it for the back. And then you guys, this last 1/2 inch that I moved up and down, I'm going to have to replace it to the down parts while cutting on fabric. Okay, that is if we are going to sew this together, because after this drafting we are also going to sew it together, but that is if you guys request for it. Okay, so now after this, I'm going ahead to add up my sewing allowance of 1 inch, as you can see. So I've added my side seam allowance, and after that I'm equally going to add my shoulder seam allowance of 1/2 inch, and equally my armhole seam allowance of 1/2 inch. All right, now after all this, I will go ahead and also make it visible enough for you guys to see, as you can see. So now I'm going in with my French curve around the armhole. Okay, and we are done with the back. We are done with drafting of the back. You can see that the back is quite very simple. The front is also simple, don't get me wrong, but the back is easier, right? So once we get to the front, you need to pay good attention. And you guys, please, I don't know whichever video you have seen, but if you follow this step, you are sure going to get this particular blouse right. I'm not capping about it. Try it and you will see for yourself. Okay, so if you want to learn pattern drafting, you want to start following this YouTube channel from now on, because I'm going to be dropping a lot of videos for you guys from now, because you know I actually took a break, but now we are back. Okay, so now before you cut out your zip, like all those your zip contour that you did, before you cut it out, make sure you close up this back. Make sure you close up this part. Can you see? So you know I was trying to cut it and then remembered I've not closed it up. That's why I went ahead to tape it down again with the masking tape and then close this. Okay, so after closing, you want to tape it down with your masking tape. Close it down with your masking tape, and then you go ahead and continue to cut it out. So you can see that the back is quite simple, right? Now that we are done, this is what we have. Okay, now we have every of our seam allowance, everything is intact. Okay, because of the type of pattern we are making, that's why I decided to add up my seam allowances and every other thing. So you can see here I'm trying to explain that I'm still going to add up that 1 inch at the down parts, okay, while cutting on fabric. So if we eventually did not sew this together, please remember to replace that 1 inch. Okay, yeah. Now we are moving over to the fronts. And this front, you have to cut it on folds. There is no way you want to cut this front with a single paper. You want to cut it on fold. You're still going to know why, because we are trying to cut out an asymmetric neckline. Okay, and for you to get an asymmetric neckline, you have to cut on fold. Okay, you have to double your paper. Now I've showed you my paper is on fold, and then I went ahead to mark my baseline. Now from this baseline, I marked down to 11 inches, which is my bust point, and then 17 inches is my front waist point. Remember, the back is 15, right? The front is 17. This means that the difference between my front and the back is 2 inches, which is what we are going to use for our bust darts, right? Now after that, from that waist, I also went down by 9 inches, which is from my waist to the hip. Okay, so that is that. And you can see that the paper I'm using for this is longer because the front of this blouse is a bit longer. You can see the design it has at the down parts. Okay, so you have to have a longer paper than the back. So now after that, I'm trying to label. I have my shoulder, I have my bust point, the waist, and then the hip, right? Now move over to your shoulder line and divide your shoulder length into 2. Mine is 7.5, and then I also marked my neck width for the front, 4.5 inches, and then the neck depth for the front I'm using here is 4 inches, right? So I went ahead to square it, and then I'm trying to connect it. Now after connecting it, I'm going to go in with my French curve and then mark out my neckline. Okay, so you can see the way I went in with 1.5 inches right there. Yeah, that is like a guide for me to connect my neckline. If you have been following my tutorial, these things will not be new to you, except you are new here. Now after this, I'm going to go down by 1 inch. Can you see, for the shoulder slope? And I'm going to come over to the bust point and equally make sure I have my shoulder length divided by 2, which is 7.5. And then from the shoulder slope, I'm going to input 8 inches, which is my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches, which is going to be our chest line point. Okay, so I've labeled that, and now I'm going to divide the distance between the chest line and the shoulder slope into 2, mark the middle, and then go in with 0.375. okay, not up to half an inch. You can also use half an inch. Then I'll go ahead and mark my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line and then connect my armhole. Now after that, move over to the waist, divide your waist circumference by 4, mark it, and then connect to the chest line. Now after this, move over to your hip, divide your hip circumference by 4. Mine is 11, you already know, and then mark it and then connect to the waist just like this. Can you see? So now that we are done, you can see where I'm stopping this length, and I still have extended paper, right? Because the front is longer, right? Now I'm going to divide my nipple to nipple measurement by 2. So I'm working with 8, which is my nipple, the distance between my 2 breasts, right? Now I marked it on the bust points, on the waistline, and then down to the hip. So that is going to serve as our bust span. Now again, remember the difference between the front length and the back length. We are going to be using that as the bust darts. The bust dart is what I'm going to be using here. We are not using any form of waist darts for this particular blouse. Okay, bust dart is what we need. Just the bust dart is enough. Okay, you're still going to understand why. Now I've marked it down. Remember, from your bust, take it down, which is 2 inches for mine. I don't know yours, so make use of yours. The difference between your front and the back is what you're going to use here. Now, what you're going to do is to mark it down from your bust and connect it to the bust pan. Okay. Now that I'm done with this, I'm going to go ahead and add up my allowances, because adding up your allowance for this type of pattern drafting is very, very important. Go ahead and add up your allowance, because we are still going to slash and spread. Okay, so it's important that you add up your seam allowance instead of after slashing you start adding your seam allowance. So you can see I've added my shoulder seam allowance, my armhole seam allowance, and then my side seam allowance. Okay, so I'm trying to connect them one after the other, as you can see. So we are right at the armhole, and after that we are going to connect the side seam allowance. So you guys, you can see that this tutorial is very, very simple. Just follow this step that I'm showing you right now, and yeah, you won't have any issues with this, even without showing you how to sew this. Okay, after cutting and showing you how to draft this pattern, I bet you the sewing is going to be very, very easy for you. Okay, trust me. So now that I'm done connecting the side seam allowance, the next thing you want to do right here is to bring in your tracing wheel, the tracing wheel, right? Okay, so I'm just trying to extend the bust that's the side seam allowance. So now the next thing you want to do is bring in your tracing wheel, and you're going to start tracing. You're going to have to trace out each and every line you have on this pattern paper. Trace it out. It is very, very important. Okay, all of them, I said all of them. Trace all of them out. So once you are done tracing out, now we are going to open up the pattern. But yeah, let me leave you guys to watch this. Okay, so guys, as you can see, we are done with the tracing. Now we are going to go ahead and open up the pattern. This is the reason you should cut on folds. Okay, so now you can see why we cut on folds, and we have the middle of our pattern paper already. Now you're going to start using your marker pen to trace it out. Now you might not be seeing the line of the traced outs, but because I'm closer to the paper, I'll be seeing it. So just try it out, then you will understand. But it is very important. You need to have a tracing wheel as a pattern drafter. It is very, very important. Okay, so you can see I'm trying to trace out all the lines. Now I'm going to leave you guys to watch how like making all the lines visible. So once we are done with this, we will continue. So guys, I'm done tracing it out. Now the next step we're going to take is to label the left and the right side of the pattern. So I have done that, and now we are going to work on the neckline. Now from this part, I'm going to go down by 5 inches. Okay, and then on this part, I'm going to go down by 5.5 inches. Yeah, and then I'm going to connect it just like this. Okay, So whatever design you want to work with at this point, it is up to you, but just make sure that you have like a cutout, because if you take a look at the neckline, you will notice that that part of the right side has like a cutout. Okay. And then now we are going to go in with this French curve like this to the other part of the shoulder, and then connect the asymmetric neck design. Can you see? So now I'm trying to like, I'm not yet sure of what I want to do here, but yeah, I want to get the perfect neck design. Can you see? So yeah, this is perfect. Now after that, we are done with the neck design, so we are going to go over to the down parts. Now for this down part, we are going to move over to the left side. Now you know that this is the length of the blouse. Now from the hemline of this blouse, go up by 5 inches. All right, so yeah, this is how I want the slit to look. If you notice, the slit is like 5 inches away from the hem, right? So I've marked these 5 inches, and the next thing I want to do is to connect like a princess line, like princess design, over to these points. All right, to that our bust dart, right? So I'm going to connect like this, right? And then after this, make sure you like label this place. You have to make sure you note that particular point, that 5 inches, because that is where the slit is going to stop, right? Now after working on the left parts, we are going to move over to the right, and remember this is the middle, so we want to mark out our bust span from the middle and then take it down to the extra inches that we added. Okay, now from the hip, from the natural length of this blouse to this length that I'm working with right now is 5 inches. That is what I want to use. I use 5 inches. You can use 5.5, 6 inches. It depends on how lengthy you want that down design to look, right? So now, first of all, I connected with a straight ruler, but it wasn't giving what I wanted, so I went in with the curved ruler. You can see for that right part. And then now for this other side, I'm trying to like blend it up to the other side, so I'm going to go in like this. And you see, I'm still trying to figure out how to place in my ruler so that it will give what the picture is looking like. Can you see? So yeah, I think I've gotten it, and then I connected it like this, and that is it, you guys. This design is so simple, very easy, and you can see we have gotten the exact shape of the front part of this blouse. Very, very simple, but I feel like that's the slit open, the space between the left and the right is like a little bit wider than what I'm seeing on the picture. But yeah, I'm going to leave it like this. Yeah, because we are still going to add up seam allowance on that side by the time we want to sew them together, right? So that is okay. Now we are going to have to close up the bust that of the right part. Okay, but first of all, let me start by cutting the armhole. Can you see? So once I'm getting to the side seam of the right part, I'm going to close up that. Okay, so yeah, so now the right part cut out that I've been talking about, this is it. So this is where we are right now. I've cut it and I make sure I placed a notch. Please do make sure you place a notch so that you know where to sew it in back, just like this. Can you see? I'm just so happy about this pattern. I don't know why, because yeah, this is creativity. I just figured it out myself by myself, right? So yeah, I'm going to go in with this with the other armhole, and before I continue, I'm going to close up the bust dart of the right part of this pattern, just like this. And you see, close it up, and then use my masking tape to hold it back together like this. So now that I'm done holding it, I'll continue to cut out. And then for these parts, I would have loved to close it, but there is really no need because we are still going to have like a slash and spread other parts. So I just closed it in and then cut out that part and left it like that because we'll still slash and spread that part. So there is no need holding it with a masking tape. But if you want, you can actually hold it with your masking tape before slashing. Okay, so you guys, you can see the shape of this blouse is already coming out. Can you see? So yeah, I'm going to cut out my princess line at this part. And then you guys, I'm going to label it. I still have to label, right? So now that I'm done with this, next thing we want to do is to go ahead and mark out our slash lines. Okay, slash line, if you take a look at that blouse, you will notice that it also came with like slash and spread. They added fullness to that part and later gathered it back together. So this is what we are trying to achieve right here. Can you see? And that's why I initially told you there is no need closing up the that's bust that of the left part, right? So even if you close it up, you are still going to go ahead and slash it. So if you want, you can close it up before slashing. Okay, so yeah, this is me just trying to slash my paper, and then after this I'm going to bring in another pattern paper so that we can be able to add it underneath this our pattern paper. Okay, so here is the pattern paper I'll be working with. So I'm just going to put it underneath this and then use my masking tape to hold them together. You guys, you can see that this tutorial is actually very simple. Follow this step and I bet you this blouse you're going to enjoy making it. It's going to come out perfect, very neat, and exactly the same as what you are seeing on the picture. Okay, so I'm just trying to spread it out. I'm still going to slash a little bit more because I feel like, yeah, it's not opening very well. And if I try to open it more, the right parts will look not relaxed. So I still need to like slash that down part a little. Okay, so this is me just trying to tape it down, and once I'm done with this part, I'm going to move over to the damp parts. Okay, just basically using my masking tape to hold it together. Okay, even the added fullness wasn't too much. Okay, just yeah, just a little, and that is fine. So this is me trying to slash a little bit more so that the right part can relax a bit. Okay, so yeah, that is it. Now I'm going to like use my masking tape to hold them together, and after that we go ahead and continue to cut out the remaining. So guys, as you can see, I am done taping it down. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut out the excess paper that is not needed, right? So yeah, that is that for this tutorial. This tutorial is that simple, right? So I believe you have learned something from this tutorial, how to actually go about this type of design. Okay, anywhere you see it, you can like draft it and cut it out. And yeah, you guys, I believe you find this tutorial helpful. If you do, please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up. And if you want me to bring on the sewing part of this tutorial, please leave a comment requesting that we continue with this tutorial. You can see we have the back and the fronts aligning properly. Okay, and don't forget to share this particular video. And if you haven't followed us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, please do, and I'll see you guys in my next one.